So after our one-on-one, when we talked about the roommates that were having the alcohol issues in the room, and and Omar said he was uncomfortable, and Eli, he was consuming alcohol in the room, and so there was some riffs going on about that. So we had the one-on-one, and I just wanted to let you know what happened. So based on your advice that you gave when we talked, is I met with Omar separately first,
Okay.
and I just wanted to get complete perspective about what was going on, how it was affecting him, and more specifically, how it was affecting the relationship between him and Eli.
Okay.
I think that's what he was really concerned about. That's what came up with the conversation. And then when I was talking with Eli, I definitely heard some new things that Omar wasn't mentioning before. And even though it made it seem like Eli was the transgressor in the situation,
Mhm.
having his perspective was really really helpful. So I met with him separately because I thought that would be based on your advice, he was gonna be most honest
Okay.
when we were being together alone. And then so taking all the information that I had at that point, first step we took is reference the roommate contract that you had
Okay.
written up before. All three of us then got together, and I think they had both known that we had all talked together, and we had the roommate contract in front of us,
Mhm.
and they mutually agreed that what was going on was kind of against the roommate contract, and I think what the effect was was a really increase in communication.
Okay.
So they were whatever ill will there was before was
Okay.
kind of alleviated because they had mutually agreed on the steps to take, and so now they're sticking to the roommate contract. They're talking more and more. More importantly, they're talking now,
Yep.
communicating about what's going on in the room.
Okay. Great. So it sounds like, what the things that we were concerned about was trying to get both of their perspectives, and then like you were able to meet with everybody. You want to walk into roommate conflict knowing the full story. You did that. It sounds like they're in a better place. And so what are your next steps are to just, kind of keep a monitor on it. It sounds like you know that they're already doing well, so it sounds like this is pretty much resolved.
Yeah.
Great. So in the course of the week, you really were able to accomplish a lot. So I really appreciate that you took the time to know that this was a priority in your hall. I think you recognized that without addressing this, the situation could have escalated. So I appreciate you saying, all right, this is a priority. So you just kind of prioritized really well that this was a need in the community that
Mm.
needed your attention the first. Um, and even though we kind of talked through the logistics of that, you knew that timeliness around giving them both the opportunity to have space was important.
Mm.
And another thing that when you talked about, you even said something around um, things that I hadn't heard about, or I wanted to hear more things from Omar because I wasn't sure he was being fully honest. You essentially created a safe space for him because it is hard to talk about this because alcohol, people have some different opinions about what alcohol means in the community, right? You even kind of took the nonverbal communication, so you were really observant around maybe he was being hesitant, so let me create a space where that could come out and flourish. And so I really appreciate you kind of noticing not just what he's telling you, because part of it you could have just gone back and said, oh yeah, he's he's I got the full story, here's Omar's perspective, right? But you actually took it a step further and said, let me just make sure, and I actually think there's more there, so let me take another effort to do that. I think also in following up with Eli, I think you said a couple things that were helpful in framing it for Eli. Even before you walked into the meeting, you gave Eli space to not be. I think you used the word transgressor. You knew there was more to that than Eli, and you used kind of you created an opportunity for him to be more than that. So you didn't kind of give up on him. It's very easy to fall into judgment, um, and it's hard to kind of stop ourselves. So the fact that you stopped yourself was pretty was pretty good for Eli in that he got to actually feel like there was a safe space. So you created safe spaces in two different ways. So you really kind of were versatile in knowing, well, here's what Omar needs, here's what Eli needs. Let me do this and in different ways. So that's due to your creativity to know that they actually needed different things. Some skills you really displayed in managing this roommate complex. Sometimes it can just seem to be about, all right, let's get from A to steps in the process. But here's what I saw you do really well. I saw you create a safe space for both students so that they could allow their stories to come up and bubble up to the surface. That's not easy to do, and I think it was really a good thing on your part to do that. I think also you used creativity in how you approach the situation. So it really could be, I gave you a checklist, right? And you used your creativity to actually use that as a framework, but then you were creative in how you went about doing it. So I really appreciate that those are the two things that I see consistently in your work. We see it in all these different areas, but here where it doesn't seem automatic, here's where I saw two of your biggest strengths that you display on staff at play?
Thanks, Trey.
You're welcome. You're awesome.